As we reported earlier, Saudi Arabia's chief prosecutor has accused 11 people now in the murder of writer Jamal Khashoggi. And the U.S. quickly followed suit with its own sanctions. As Nick Schifrin reports, there are ongoing questions about the Saudi response and about Saudi foreign policy in the region.
At the top of the list of Saudis sanctioned by the U.S. government is Saud al-Qahtani, one of the chief advisors to Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. Critics of MBS, as he's known, call Qahtani a fall guy for the Crown Prince's decisions to aggressively target his opponents. When it comes to foreign policy, MBS has been most aggressive over Saudi Arabia's southern border by waging war in Yemen. Over the last 3.5 years, the UN estimates 10,000 have been killed, and they stopped counting years ago. Today, the Saudi-led coalition halted its offensive against the key city and port of Hodeidah. But millions are suffering from an acute hunger crisis. The UN warns Yemen is on the brink of famine. One of the people leading the response is David Beasley, Executive Director of the World Food Program, and he joins me now from the UN. David Beasley, thanks so much for being on the NewsHour. Let me start with the day's news, this halt in fighting in Hodeidah. Some 70% of imports into Yemen go through Hodeidah. Could this improve, possibly, the humanitarian situation?
There's no doubt that'll have a positive impact, but I tell you, I was there just day before yesterday in the Hodeidah port area, and it's like a ghost town in parts of it. It is a militarized zone. We were distributing food. People were literally coming to us, coming out of their homes as quickly as they could to our distribution points, where we would give them enough food for 1 month so they don't have to be in the streets, because it is a combat militarized zones. In fact, you can't believe how many people came up to me begging me to stay, believing that as long as I was there, as long as our team was there, there would be no military combat. In fact, military combat started 1 hour after we left. So ceasefire will give us a tremendous opportunity to address the humanitarian catastrophe that we're facing right now.
It is a catastrophe, and let's personalize this a little bit. Talked about the conditions that you saw, and there's someone you met, 8-month-old Mohammed Hashim.
Well, I was in the hospital seeing the children literally dying right before my very own eyes. Little Mohammed, who was literally just months old, just a situation with diarrhea, lack of food, lack of good water, and it was heartbreaking. And it wasn't just Mohammed. I can talk to you about water and my life, and I talked to the little girls. I remember one little child, his little teeny feet were sticking out the blanket, and I tickled the little feet thinking I'd get a little smile, and it was just like tickling a ghost. It's heartbreaking, and it's all across the nation. This war must end. I was there a year ago, and it was bad then, but now we're assisting about 8 million people that are literally on the brink of starvation out of a nation of 29 million people. And we're out in the field now doing new assessments. We believe that that number may jump from 8 million to 12 or 14 million that are on the brink of starvation. It is a desperate situation. We need help, but most importantly, the war needs to end so that we can do what we can do and hopefully stimulate the economy. All these things are extremely important right now to a population that is not on the brink of a catastrophe. It is a catastrophe.
You talk about the need to end this war. That's a political question, of course. That leads to talks, UN-sponsored talks. On one side, Saudi-led coalition, on the other, Houthi rebels, in part perhaps sponsored, at least the U.S. says, by Iran. Is there the political will on all the sides to actually bring this war to a close?
Well, you know, if there's not political will to end this war, I can't imagine a greater catastrophe in my lifetime. Children are dying literally every single day from starvation. People are dying. People have lost their job. There's no jobs. There's no money in the economy. I don't know where they're going to go if we don't end this war. It must end. People must understand these aren't just numbers. These are little girls and little boys. These are children with names like Muhammad and Warda and Ahmed. They'd be like our little children. We've got to fight for them, and they need our standing up for them right now.
For the Americans listening to this, hearing what you're saying, that they need help, what can normal Americans do, if anything?
I think the average American, first and foremost, pray for the children and the families in Yemen. Number two, call your political leaders and say, let's bring this war to an end. I think that's critical. But at the same time, until that war does end, please make certain that we, like the World Food Program, have the support financially that we need to scale up and ramp up. Let me give you an example. We are spending right now, feeding over 8 million people, about $100 million per month. We are going to have to ramp up to $150 million per month if, in fact, when we see the new numbers in that shows that the numbers have gone from 8 million to 12 to 14 million people on the brink of starvation. So if the American people would speak out and say, support the people that are starving to death in Yemen because of this war, I think hopefully that'll wake up the political leadership to do what's good, to do what's right. First and foremost, support the humanitarian needs, and then number two, and that I think that's the most important thing, bring this war to an end.
David Beasley of the World Food Program, just back from Yemen. Thank you very much.
Thank you.